Thank you and welcome into this video. I would like to take you through how you can be able to declare for your manual and non-eTIMs expenses. So this technically means these are some of the invoices which you are invoiced and some receipts which you received which were not validated via eTIMs, or so that means they were not auto-populated in your iTax portal, and you cannot be able to net them back against the income or the gross turnover which you generated. And this is becoming more problematic because previously, in case for instance you generated some consulting income or maybe income originating from other sources like sole proprietorship, you could easily deduct the expenses even without validating them. But today the game is no more like that. You need to validate any expense which you incur in order to be an allowable expense which can be net against your income, or which can be deducted against the income or the gross turnover which you generated. So in case you happen not to fiscalize your invoices and receipt, there is a section which have been provided by iTax when filing your return named as the manual non-eTIMs expenses. Under this section, you can be able to adjust all the manual invoices which you have or receipts which were not fiscalized or which were not eTIMs compliant. So this section is under the tax computation area, which is here, the income computation self area, which is here. But I show you what you are supposed to do first. First thing first, you are supposed to declare those expenses in the iTax portal. And also there is a procedure which involves it, and that is what I want to demonstrate practically with an example. So first things first, let us get started. What you're supposed to do, just get into the iTax portal, then enter your iTax PIN here. So I just enter mine here, which is A015 43007A. Then you need to continue. Then you need to confirm that the TIN is correct and do a simple mathematical computation here, which is giving me a value of 102. Then you need to log in. When you log in, you'll be taken into this interface. What you need to do, you just need to come to where we have income and then do manual add non-eTIMs invoices. Then you need to choose the period. So the period is 2025 in this scenario because we are filing return for the income year 2025. Then you need to click next, then click OK. So when you do that, basically you'll be taken into the next interface. Let me give it time to load. Let us give it time to load. I can click next. Okay. So be taken into this interface. So under this interface, we need to download these CSV or comma saved values here. And this is where we just open it with WPS. And this is where you will adjust all the invoices and receipts which you received, which you need to net off, which you are invoiced, and you need to net off against the income which you generated. So I have a receipt here of a purchase which is under here. So this is how an invoice look like. So what you need to take from this invoice, you need to take the supplier PIN, which is here. So to avoid a lot of mistake, I'll just copy it from this section. So let me ensure I'm getting it correctly. So just copy it from this section. So it is here. So just copy it. So just a minute. Okay, I just copy it and then come and paste it here in this document here. So don't adjust anything in the header so that you don't run into problems. So under the headers, don't populate anything. So then you need to enter the supplier name. So you just get the supplier name from your invoice as it is. So the supplier name is Opanet Limited. So I just come here, take the name of the supplier, copy it, and bring it in our comma saved value, which is in the WPS. So just come and populate the name here. Then you need to enter the invoice number. So you just get back to the invoice again. That is where you usually get your invoice number. So I'm choosing to highlight because when I do it manually, I'm prone to making a lot of errors. So that's why I usually recommend copy pasting what is in the document in some cases. Then I need to come and populate it here. Then don't adjust anything in the title. As I have said, you need to enter the invoice date. Ensure you are in the right sheet. So the invoice date, you can get it in the document, in the invoice document. So it is 20th November 2025. You just come here and input it as 20th November. So it is 20th November 2025. Then you need to enter the supply description. So as you can see, the description of this supply, as you can see in the document, it was involving electrical appliances. So I just come here and write electrical appliances from the invoice. So just come where we have the invoice and enter electrical appliances. Then I'll come here and enter the invoice amount. So the invoice amount is an amount of how much. So then we get back to the P9 form and not the P9 form, to the invoice and show you the supplier amount was an amount of 65,795. So just copy the amount and bring it here where we have the document, which is here, and populate it here, and you are good. So regardless of the amount of the invoices which you have, you come and fill the second invoice, the third invoice, the fourth invoice, the sixth invoice, all the invoices here. And after you have populated them here, even if there are 10 invoices, you just come here and save the document. So you just come here and choose to save the document. So we can save the document. You just need to save it as the comma saved value and save it. So don't save as XXX and just save it as how it is. So it is already saved. So it has been saved as the document. So what we need to do in order to do the declaration, we need to come here where we had manual and non-eTIMs invoice adjustments. Choose the CSV file which we have worked for it now, which is saved as the document. So it is at 727. Then you need to choose the receipt, which was originating from LG. Then I need to submit. So then click OK and submit. So in case you have not made any error, it should submit and be accepted by iTax. So let us give a time for it to submit. So please note that the income tax 25 has already been filed. Additional manual and eTIMs cannot be. So that is because I have already filed my tax return. That is why I cannot be able to adjust anything against this income, but that is the process. So when you declare that income using that method, so mine cannot go through because I have already submitted my iTax return. eTIMs cannot be submitted for the period for further. Okay, so this is because I already filed my return. But when you do that and you submit and ensure it is successful, you shall just come here, because you can notice I already had my income here under the P&L. So my income was here. So I need to come and less that amount with the amount which I have declared in the iTax, which was of 65,000. So I just need to come in the T computation sheet here and adjust that amount in this section. And after doing that, when we come into the T computation, you notice that the tax liability will reduce significantly. You can see the tax liability has reduced. So in case you have a withholding tax credit, in case it is a withholding tax, you need to come and list it here. Then that is how we are doing the manual adjustment of the non-eTIMs/TIMs invoices, and that is how we check the details in the invoice document. So thank you for watching and have a nice day. In case you have any query, kindly reach me using the contact in the description.